Book 9, Number 1. They who act unjustly act impiously. Since the cosmic universal nature has made rational animals for cooperation, do not harm one another. Therefore, whoever acts against this principle transgresses her will and is guilty of impiety toward the highest divinity. He who lies is guilty of impiety to the same divinity, for the universal nature represents and is the source of all that is true in existence. Whoever lies intentionally acts irreverently toward the cosmic universal nature and unjustly toward others through deception. For those who lie disturb the universal order by refusing to see and acknowledge the nature of the world, fight against it, and move themselves contrary to the truth by neglecting the power of discernment endowed to them by nature. Those who pursue pleasure as good and avoid pain as evil are guilty of impiety, for they find fault with the cosmic universal nature, alleging that it assigns things to the bad and the good contrary to their deserts. Further, whoever is afraid of pain will be afraid of things which happen in the world, and even this is impiety. Whoever pursues pleasure will not abstain from injustice if it brings them pleasure, and this is plainly impiety. The universal nature regards pain, pleasure, life, and death equally, for it would not have made both. And I say the universal nature employs them equally rather than happening randomly to various individuals according to the original plan rendered by Providence, that conceived the principles for how things are to be, change, and move according to a successive flow. Those who wish to follow nature should view them as neither good nor evil, but a natural alchemy of nature. To act piously is to accept and be at peace with what is according to nature. 2. It would be someone's happiest lot to depart from mankind without having had any taste of lying, hypocrisy, luxury, and pride. However, to breathe out one's life when someone has had enough of these things is the next best voyage. As the saying goes, have you determined to abide with vice? Hasn't your experience taught you to fly from this pestilence? For the destruction of the rational faculty and its ability for understanding is far worse than any corruption or change of the atmosphere. For this corruption is a pestilence of animals so far as they are animals, but the other is a pestilence of people so far as they are rational beings. 3. Do not despise death, but be well content with it, since this too is one of those things that nature wills, for such as it is according to nature, to be young and to grow old, to reach maturity, to have teeth, beard, and gray hair, to beget, to be pregnant, to bring forth children, and all the other natural operations which the seasons of life bring. Such also is our dissolution. Then it is consistent with a reflecting character to be neither careless nor impatient nor contemptuous with respect to death, but to wait for it as one of the operations of nature. As you now wait for the time when your child is born, so be ready for the time when your soul will fall out of its mortal envelope. But if you require a simple, everyday comfort to settle your heart, then you'll find yourself reconciled by observing those things, and people will leave you behind, and the morals of those with whom your soul will no longer be connected. For it is no way right to be offended with men, but it is your duty to care for them and to bear with them gently, and yet to remember that your departure will not be from people who have the same principles as yourself. The only thing that would attach us to life is to be permitted to live with those who have the same principles as ourselves. But now you see how great the trouble arising from the discordance of those who live together. So you might say, "Come quick, death, lest I too should forget myself." 4. They who do wrong to themselves. They who act unjustly to themselves, because they make themselves bad. 5. One can often act unjustly through failing to act, not only through the commission of an injustice. 6. Having an opinion founded on reason, conducting yourself toward the benefit of society, and having a contented disposition with everything which happens, that is enough. 7. Wipe away troubling thoughts, check desire, control appetite, and keep your ruling faculty in its own power. 8. Among animals without reason, they all share one life. But among animals with reason, we share one intelligent soul, just as there is one earth for all things of an earthly nature, just like we see by one light, and breathe one air. 9. All things move toward that which is similar to themselves. Everything that is earthen turns toward the earth. Everything which is liquid flows together, and everything that is an aerial kind does the same. So to keep them apart requires the application of force or intervention. Fire indeed moves upwards on account of its natural tendency, but easily combines with fire around it. That every substance which is somewhat dry is easily ignited because there are fewer elements that are a hindrance to ignition. Everything sharing a common intelligence in nature moves in like manner toward that which is like. For the more superior thing is in comparison with other things, the more readily it can be fused with that which is like itself. Among animals devoid of reason, we find swarms of bees and herds of cattle, and the nurture of young birds, and, in a manner, bonds of affection and love. For even in animals there are souls, and that power which brings them together to form loving bonds is far superior, and not observed in plants, nor in stones, nor in trees. But in rational beings there are communities, friendships, families, associations, wars, treaties, and armistices. However, in things which are superior, even though they are separated by great distances, unity in a manner exists, as in the stars. Thus, even those things that reach a higher level of existence or complexity can still demonstrate connection and sympathy towards one another, though they are separated. See what now has taken place. For only intelligent beings have forgotten this natural inclination for unity and connection, as the property of flowing together is not seen. But even though people strive to avoid this union, it is their nature to be compelled to seek connection, and you will see this is true if you observe them. You will sooner find one earthly object not touching another earthly object before human beings separate from each other. 10. Both man and God and the universe produce actions at predictable times, much like fruit in their seasons. Reason, like fruit vines and similar plants, produce fruit for both others and itself. The products of reason are similar to reason itself, in that they are rational. 11. If you are able, correct by teaching those who do wrong. But if you can't, remember that you can be patient and forgiving. The gods, too, are patient and forgiving to such persons, and for some purposes they can even help to get wealth, health, and reputation. So kind they are. It is in your power also. Who is hindering you? 12. Labor not as one who is wretched, nor yet as one who would be pitied or admired, but direct your efforts to one thing only, to act in accordance with your rational faculty and the desire to contribute productively to society. 13. Today I have got out of all trouble, or rather I have cast out all my trouble, for it was not outside, but within my mind. 14. All things are the same, familiar in experience, ephemeral in time, and worthless in matter. Everything now is just as it was in the time of those whom we have buried. 15. Things exist independent of us without self-awareness or the ability to form perceptions. What is it, then, that forms perceptions about them? The ruling faculty. 16. The good and evil of the rational social animal, just like their virtue and vice, lie not in their passivity, but in their activities. 17. For the stone which has been thrown up, it is no evil to come down, nor indeed any good to have been carried up. If you deeply examine people's core beliefs and principles, you will understand the judgment you're afraid of, and how they judge themselves. 19. All things are changing, and you are in a continuous cycle of transmutation and destruction, as is the whole universe too. 20. It is your duty to leave another's wrongful act there, where it has taken place. 21. Termination of activity, cessation of movement and perception, and in a sense, death, is no evil. Turn your thoughts to the consideration of your life as a child, a youth, an adult, an old person. For in these stages of life, there was also a death. Is anything to fear? Turn your thoughts now to your life under your grandfather, then to your life under your mother, then to your life under your father, and as you find many other differences and changes, ask yourself, is this anything to fear? In like manner, then, neither is the change nor the cessation of your whole life a thing to be afraid of. 22. Hasten to examine your own ruling faculty to make it fair, and that of your neighbors, so that you can know whether they act out of ignorance or knowledge, to discern whether their ruling faculty is similar to yours. 23. Remember, you are part of a larger whole universe, and you're placed within it. As you are one component of a broader social system, let every act contribute to that system. Whatever act has no reference to a socially productive end disrupts the unity of your life against this collective harmony. To conduct oneself in this manner is the very nature of mutiny, like in a popular assembly when someone stands up from the general agreement. 24. Quarrels of little children and their sports, and poor spirits, caring about dead bodies, such is everything. And so, what is exhibited in the representation of the underworld strikes our eyes more clearly. 25. Examine the essence of an object, detaching it altogether from its material part, and contemplate it. Then determine the time, the longest which a thing of this peculiar form is naturally made to endure. 26. You have endured infinite troubles through not being content with your ruling faculty, when it does the things which is constituted by nature to do. But enough of this. 27. When another blames, hates, or says anything harmful to you, approach their poor souls, look within, and see what kind of people they are. You will discover that there is no reason to take any trouble with those who have this or that opinion about you. However, you must be well disposed toward them, for by nature they are your friends, and the gods too aid them in all ways, by dreams, signs, toward the attainment of these things they value. 28. The universe follows the same cyclical patterns over time. Universal intelligence directs every effect. If this is so, be content with the result of this activity. This cosmic intelligence puts itself in motion once, and everything else comes as a consequence. Or indivisible elements are the origin of all things. In a word, if there is a universal God, all is well. And if chance rules, then do not let yourself be governed by it. Soon the earth will cover us all. Then the earth too will change, and the things which result from change will continue to change forever, and these again forever. If one reflects on these changes, and the transformations which follows one after the other, rapidly, wave after wave, they will relinquish everything which is perishable. 29. The universal cause carries everything along with it in a wild torrent. How worthless are all these poor people who are engaged in matters political, and, as they suppose, are playing the philosopher. All drivellers. Well then, do what nature now requires. Set yourself in motion, if it is in your power, and do not look about to see if anyone will observe it, nor yet expect Plato's Republic. Be content if the smallest things go well, and consider such an event to be no small matter. For who can change people's opinions? And without a change of opinion, what else is there other than slavery of those who groan while they pretend to obey? Come now, tell me of Alexander, Philip, and Demetrius of Phalerum. They themselves shall judge whether they discovered the common nature required and trained themselves accordingly. But, if they acted like tragic heroes, no one would condemn me to imitate them. Simple and modest is the work of philosophy. Draw me not aside to indolence and pride. 30. Look down from above on the countless herds of people and their countless solemnities, and the infinitely varied voyages through storm and calm, and the differences among those who are born, who live together, and die. Consider also the life lived by others in older times, the lives of those who will live after you, and the lives who lived among foreign nations. How many don't know your name, and how many will soon forget it, and how who they perhaps are now praising you will soon blame you, and that neither a posthumous fame is of any value, nor reputation, nor anything else. 31. Let there be freedom from perturbations with respect to external events and circumstances, and let your actions be just according to the principles eschewed by your ruling faculty, and in the production of social acts, for this is according to your nature. 32. You can create mental space by removing the many useless things that disturb you, for they are rooted entirely in your perception. Give yourself perspective by examining and comprehending the whole universe, the eternity of time, the rapid change of all things, the shortness of time from birth to death, as well as the equally boundless time after dissolution and death. 33. All that you see will quickly perish, and those who have been spectators of this dissolution will also perish. Whoever dies at extreme old age will be brought to the same end as those who die too soon. 34. What are these people's leading principles? And about what kind of things are they busy? And for what kind of reasons do they love and honor? Imagine you see their poor souls exposed when they think that they do harm you by their blame or good by their praise. What an idea! 35. Loss is nothing else than change. The universal nature has delighted in change from all eternity and will continue until time without end, and in obedience to her, all things are done well. What then do you say? That all things have been and will and always be bad, and no power has ever been found in so many gods to rectify these things, for the world has been condemned to be found in never-ceasing evil? 36. The rottenness of the matter, which is the foundation of everything, water, dust, bones, filth, or again, marble rocks, the colistites of the earth, gold and silver, the sediments, garments, only bits of hair, and purple dye, blood, and everything else is of the same kind. And that which is the nature of breath is also another of the same kind, changing from this to that. 37. Enough of this wretched life, murmuring and apish tricks. Why are you disturbed? What is new in this? What unsettles you? Is it the form? Look at it. Or is it the matter? Look at that. Toward the gods, then, now at last it's simpler and easier. It is the same whether we examine these things for 100 years or for 3. 38. If anyone has done wrong, the harm is their own. But perhaps they have not done wrong either. 39. All things proceed from one intelligent source and come together in one cohesive body, and individual parts such as mankind ought not to find fault with what is done for the benefit of the whole, or they are only atoms, and nothing else but their mixture and dispersion. Why then are you disturbed? Say to your ruling faculty, are you corrupted, playing the hypocrite, a beast, blindly conforming with the rest? 40. Either the gods have power, or they have no power. If the gods have power, why do you pray to them? But if they have power, why do you not pray to them to give you the virtue of courage, temperance, or constancy in the face of pain, rather than pray for something that you should or should not happen? For if the gods can cooperate with people, they can do so for these purposes. But perhaps you will say, the gods have given me free will. Well, is it not better to use that free will rather than desire what is not in your power? And who has told you that the gods do not aid us even in the things which are in our power? Begin, then, to pray for such things, and you will see. One man prays thus, how shall I be able to lie with that woman? You will pray, how shall I desire not to lie with her? Another prays thus, how shall I be released from this? Another prays, how shall I not desire to be released? Another thus, how shall I not lose my little son? You pray, how shall I not be afraid to lose him? Turn your prayers this way and see what happens. 41. Epicurus says, in my sickness, my conversation was not about bodily sufferings, nor did I talk on such subjects to those who visited me, but I continued discourse on the nature of things as before, keeping to this main point, how the mind can continue in philosophical inquiry, upholding rationality, calmness, and inner peace in the face of suffering. Nor did I, he says, give the doctors an opportunity to put on solemn looks, as if they were doing something great, and my life went on well and happily. Do the same as he did both in sickness and in any other circumstance. Never desert philosophy in any event that may befall you, nor hold trifling talk either with an ignorant person or with one unacquainted with nature. This is a principle of all schools of philosophy. Only be intent on what you are doing, and the instrument by which you do it. 42. When you are offended with anyone's shameless conduct, immediately ask yourself, is it possible that shameless people should not be in the world? It is not possible. Do not then require what is impossible, for this person is one of the shameless people who must of necessity be in the world. Let the same considerations be present in the case of the knave and the faithless person, and of any individual who does wrong in any way. For when you remind yourself that it is impossible for such people to not exist, you will become more kindly disposed toward them. It is useful to perceive this immediately when the occasion arises, what virtue nature has given to mankind to oppose every wrongful act. For she has given to humanity, as an antidote against stupidity, mildness, and against every other kind of person, some other power. In all cases, it is possible for you to correct by teaching the person who has gone astray, for everyone who errs misses their object and has gone astray. Besides, wherein have you been injured? For you will find that no one who has irritated you has done anything to damage your mind. For that which is evil and harmful to you has its foundation within your mind. And what harm is done, or why would it be strange if an uneducated person does the acts of an uneducated person? Consider whether you shouldn't rather blame yourself for not expecting a person to err in such a way. For you have means given to you through reason to suppose that they would commit this error, and yet you have ignored it, and are now amazed that they have. But most of all, when you blame someone as faithless or ungrateful, turn to yourself. For the fault is manifestly your own, whether you trusted a person who has such a disposition as not to keep their promise, or rely on kindness that was not conveyed, or expected full rewards for your deeds. For what more do you want when you have done someone a service? Are you not content that you have done something conformable to your nature, and do you seek to be paid for it? Just as if the eye demanded a recompense for seeing, or the feet for walking. Just as these parts are designed for a particular purpose, and by working according to their several constitutions obtain what is their own, so is a person formed by nature for acts of benevolence. When you have done anything benevolent, or in any other way conducive to the common interest, you have acted conformably to your constitution, and get what is your own.